What's up, Rapids fans? And on this week's edition of The Rundown, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods, the Rapids, in front of a record crowd at Mile High, took on Messi and co. But now the focus shifts to a road trip at Los Angeles and Vancouver. And then we're going to go off the pitch with forward Georgi Minoungou. Let's get into it. What's up, Rapids fans, and welcome to another edition of the Colorado Rapids podcast presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. I am your host, Mike Ravolo, alongside my good friend and resident Rapids legend, Drew Moore. Drewby, I'm a bit worn out at the moment, but I'd imagine you're probably in the safe spot as well. But nonetheless, I pose the question as I usually do: how are you?
Oh man, I am definitely worn out, but for many, many good reasons.
Oh yeah,
I feel like.
Oh yeah,
it was such a fun weekend.
Yeah, man. I think let's dwell on it a little bit before we get into the recap like we typically do, right, man? So that it was such. So obviously here, for folks who for whatever reason don't know, it's referring to Saturday and that match between the Rapids and Miami and the occasion that we had been leading up to and building up to at Empire Field at Mile High. Yeah, man. I right now the images of just like me trying to stand there and soak in the moment. During the game, before the game, after the game, and just like looking around and seeing the crowd that was there for what was a historic crowd, Drew. We're going to mention that a little bit later as we go into the show. I'd mentioned this in the lead up to this match where I said maybe this is something I'm going to look forward to and will remember as a highlight in my own personal professional career and just something I got to be a part of. Very much so. Very much so, and that it was just, the result didn't go the way that we wanted to, but just everything that had gone into that match, the spectacle, the occasion that was that match, and again, like I mentioned, the historic crowd that we had there, it lived up to the billing, Drew. It was everything I think we could have hoped for, and maybe even more, honestly.
Yeah, I've been at this club for a long time, and I think knowing what every single person at this club put in to this match, right? The energy, the time, the passion, the love, whatever it was, it was as much fun as I think I've had at this club. And I've been a part of some big moments.
You won a MLS Cup. Great.
Yeah. And just the entire experience from maybe even a couple days leading up to it, but certainly when it got to the stadium on Saturday morning, to have that many fans there and that many important people there, and at that stadium and on that site, my family was there, right? The day could not have been like more beautiful and perfect. Obviously 3 points was the only thing it was missing, and we'll get into that, but that did not, for me, that did not put a damper on things at all because the performance was unreal. But just the overall experience, like I was so proud of the club on Saturday, and like I said, what went into it, what came out of it was a day I'll remember for the rest of my life. Yeah,
till the end of our days, honestly. Like that's one of those that we're gonna remember till the very end of it. And I remember I saw you and Connor Cape. Obviously, we were on the radio call later that day, but you guys were on the sideline during warmups.
Oh, and so much fun.
It was just like trying to commiserate and just like come together and see folks, and you're just like hugging them and trying to enjoy the moment together. It's like let's enjoy today, right? It was a lot of that with a lot of staff and other folks that we'd seen on the day before we really got going with the game itself. It was just one of those very special moments, and everybody who was working or a part of this game realized that, was aware of that, and was like, we have to enjoy the day regardless of the result, right? But again, this is one of those days that I will never forget ever.
And even like the former players that were there.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And I have to point out one thing that Alan Gordon said to me, right? Everybody loves Gordo, and he said, I'm an alum of like 12 different clubs, right? But this has been the greatest like thing that like alumni thing that I've had at any club that I had been at, and he was talking about just the whole weekend. But obviously the highlight being the match.
Yeah. Thankfully the day and weather-wise panned out the way it did, because
amazing.
The day before,
it looked a little different the day before.
The day before, when the team trained at the stadium, the sun was not out.
No.
And it was basically almost like a snowstorm that was taking place out there. Because I remember I took a photo like very quickly just to kind of remember the moment. It's like, as kind of as a timestamp. It was like nice and sunny and whatever. And then I see a few flakes come down. I was like, that's interesting. And within like 10 minutes, it's like these fat snowflakes that are covering the pitch. It's like slippery, and like I'm freezing my you-know-what off. Like it was quite a different story on Friday. But thankfully, everything came together on Saturday to make it the occasion that it was at the end of the day. So Should we get into it?
Let's do it.
Drew? Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah. As much as I want to reminisce on that day, but we got to get to the business side of things here on the podcast. So let's get into it, Drew, here at Empower Field at Mile High, almost 30 years ago. It was the first home match for the Rapids, taking on Miami to celebrate the 30th anniversary. But to start, Drew, the Rapids in a bit of a situation here.
Yeah, and it's just a heavy touch from Josh Atencio, and I think it's a soft penalty, right? And a difficult way to start. Although through the run of play, we had dominated up to this point, right? And Messi obviously sends Zach Steffen the wrong way, just looks at him the entire way, and the response from me was fantastic, and we continued to dominate that first half, and then we were put in even a bigger hole here as Miami scores right before halftime. And, can we be a little bit stronger in the box? I know Zach's trying to decide, should I come, should I stay? And it was another kind of gut punch, but it did not stop us from coming out in the second half, Mike.
No, not at all.
Fire.
Going into the second half, 58th minute, Drew, this is incredible buildup from the Rapids. And then this is, quite frankly, Brazilian brilliance from none other than Rafa Navarro.
Yeah, absolutely undresses his center back. And the touch from Wayne Frederick is fantastic, just around the corner in the path of Rafa. But this is a vintage Matt Wells system goal right here, right? Bring him in, open up space and attack. And Rafa Navarro, as in form as anybody in the league right now, goes and makes it 2-1, and they continue that momentum going forward. Lucas Harrington's pass to Darren Yappi, who had just gotten on the field, right? You see the two center backs chasing Rafa Navarro and Paxton Aronson, and look at the space it creates, and Darren Yappi recognizes that, and Lucas Harrington recognizes the run from Darren Yappi, and what a finish this was, and the place was rocking at this point. It's so calm from Darren Yappi. If somebody's just come on the field to collect himself for just a split second and finish it off.
Yeah, an incredible. That was in the space of 4 minutes that the Rapids found those two goals, Drew. But here, Lionel Messi was going to have a response to make it 3-2 for Miami.
I think he's the only player in the world that can do this, right? The cut in on his left and the quickest release you're going to see. And it was really the only time in the match that we saw that Lionel Messi dribbling at our back line on the ball. And it's vintage Messi, and that's what he's capable of.
Yep, and that would be the difference. Messi getting that game winner in the 79th minute for Miami. So with the final result of Rapids 2, Miami 3 on the day, and what was a historic day at Empower Field at Mile High. Let's go through the match stats here, Drew. For Colorado, with the total shots that they had, 15 versus Miami's 5. Shots on target, 4 for Colorado, 3 for Miami. Corners, 3 for Colorado, 2 for Miami. And then possession, 62% for Colorado and 38% for Miami. Drew, we'll get into like the historic part of this match, with the crowd and all these other things that came into it. But just your general thoughts to start on the match.
So frustrated because I know how this is going to go. And it is the score line is going to guide people's thoughts of this match that didn't watch it or that weren't invested in it. Because I'm a pretty level-headed guy, I feel like, Mike, right?
Yeah.
Like most of my takes are pretty calm and well thought
1,000%.
out. 1,000%. And this one is as well, but it's going to sound very much like a hot take. This was the Rapids' best performance in years. The best performance that I can remember in years. And that's why it's so frustrating, because people are going to see that Messi scored twice. He scored the game winner. It was a vintage Messi goal. And if you didn't watch the match, it's like, oh, okay, they just did what, Miami just did what they do, and nobody's going to talk about the Rapids and how they dominated every single facet. And those stats that you just saw, which were domination, right? The stats, it was a dominant performance in the stats book. But in possession, out of possession, set pieces I could have some gripes about, right? Because our attacking set pieces were not as threatening as typically they can be. But from literally minute 1, when our press forced Falcon to knock the ball out of bounds for a corner kick, less than 30 seconds into the match, maybe less than 25 seconds into the match, we were on top of them in the press. They couldn't get out of our press. And it was the most dominant performance I've seen the Rapids in years.
Not a hot take, Drew. Let's be, because you and I are not here to waste our time with the Rapids always did great. It's very straightforward in terms of watching the match, taking it for what it is, for the better or for worse with some of the things that we notice when we look at a Rapids performance after the weekend, right? And I agree. I agree in that this was, in the time that I've been here, so this is my 6th season with the club, so not as long as you, Drew, but in my time with the club, that is one of the very best, if not possibly the best performance that the Rapids have had. that I've ever seen here in person since I've been at the club. Just because, as you mentioned, Drew, like all around on both sides of the ball, the Rapids were all over Miami. Obviously, the difference is it helps when you have a Lionel Messi, someone who is as clinical and as incredible as he is, who's able to take advantage of those few moments, right? I mean, if I had mentioned the stats here, with the shots on target for Miami was 3. So every opportunity they had on target, they scored. And that's what the best teams and most clinical teams will do to you. Yeah. Even when they don't have the ball, when they're struggling to build out from the back, maintain possession, they find a way. And again, it helps when you have someone like Lionel Messi to help with that. But as you mentioned, with the long balls that Miami were forced to put literally from the very beginning of the match because of the Rapids press, or just couldn't find solutions in midfield because the Rapids were clogging that up as well, with the Hamza, with the Josh Atencio, with all these, anybody, and Wayne Frederick. I mean, the list goes on with guys who were clogging up that space. Miami didn't seem to have too many solutions. No. At the end of the day, it took some brilliance from Messi, who was not on the ball really that much, honestly. But again, like I said, this is what very, very good and clinical players do, is take advantage of their few opportunities when they come around. But overall, Drew, like I said, on both sides of the ball, the Rapids were all over Miami. Dare I say that, like, I would take Miami next weekend, honestly, if we could have another go at them. And maybe the result is a little bit different just because of how good and dominant the performance was from the Rapids.
100%. And I don't have all the stats, but there's some underlying stats as well. And I'm cheating a little bit because I saw the debrief video not too long ago. But it was the least amount of expected goals for Miami all season. It was their least amount of shots all season for Miami, least amount of passes all season for Miami, least amount of touches for Lionel Messi all season by Miami, and all this by a lot, right? And so they didn't have a solution for our, once again, our press or for our possession, right? And the way we were able to build and create chances, right? Whether it was, build out of the back and then go, or even direct, as you see on Darren Yappi's goal, right through the middle of them, as you see on Rafa Navarro's goal. And like I said, on Messi's goal, this was the only time we saw Messi really get on the ball and have more than 2 or 3 touches on it and in open space. And let's touch real quick. I want to make this very clear on the penalty conceded. This is how the Rapids play, right? And Matt Wells is well aware, and I think he said, and I hope he's okay with this. He said during preseason at one point, we're going to give away a handful of goals this season because of our build-out, because of the way we play, because we are going to go high risk from goal kicks or in phase one or when we are building out, And this was one of them. And he said, those goals are on me, because this is how I want you to play. And so the alternative is, well, why do you play that? Well, why don't you go direct? Why don't you go long? Well, look at how the third goal was conceded. It was a long ball out of the back from our goalkeeper, and then Messi does his thing, right? But you think about the chances that we create and the goals that we score from our build-out play, because teams very often do not have a solution for it. And then once you do break that line, you see what we're capable of in the attack, And so for me, it's a wonderful way to play. And again, it just gives confidence to the players to continue to go back and do it. During the video this morning, Matt Wells said, Josh Atencio, what would you have done differently? Zach Steffen, what would you have done differently on this penalty that we conceded? And the room got kind of quiet, and he said, you wouldn't do anything differently. You would do this exactly again. You would have just had a cleaner touch next time, And the more we do it, the more we get comfortable with it, the cleaner that touch is going to be, and the more opportunities it's going to lead to the other way. And to hear that from your coach has to be the biggest confidence boost, the most reassuring, comfort, because Josh Atencio is a class player, and next time he's in that situation, I guarantee it's going to lead to a chance for us going the other way.
Yeah, no, for sure, Drew. One little tidbit here that we found from our good friend Tom Bokert, friend of the pod that we've had a couple times on, like his weekly roundup that he does of the weekend from MLS. And there was one little note in there that he had in that article that came out this morning in the Athletic, mentioning that Miami's 38% possession was the lowest in a regular season game Messi has played. So that goes along with some of these stats that you were throwing out there that you guys went through in the debrief this morning from this weekend's match. Again, like you said, going back to what you said earlier, Drew, about the fact that the scoreline. So a lot of people are going to look at the scoreline and be like, okay, whatever, Miami did their thing against the Rapids, as you'd expect. But if you want to take the time and educate yourself, let's just be very straightforward, educate yourself and be informed of how the match actually went. Miami did not dominate. I will tell you that much right now. The scoreline did go in their favor. At the end of the day, that's what counts, right? But as we talk about, even with losses, you have to find things to be able to build off of, because you can't just like crumble it up and just throw it away, because there's always something to pull from the previous match, be it for good or for bad, and you carry that forward knowing you need to build on that or correct that moving ahead. And yeah, I don't know how else to put it. Like the Rapids just dominated on the day, despite not getting the result, and despite being disappointed from not getting the 3 points. I walked out of that match incredibly encouraged, seeing what the Rapids did to Miami. And like I said, Drew, like I would take Miami on again next weekend, because
sure.
I feel that eager and that determined and that confident in this Rapids side because of just how well they played overall.
Yeah, and look, we haven't moved on from this match yet here in this podcast, but there's 2 massive matches coming up this week, and if you can repeat that performance and that dominance right against these 2 teams you have coming up that are in your conference, that are right up at the top of your conference, then there's no reason to believe that you can't go and get 6 points on this road trip coming up. We'll get to that in a little bit, I know, but people in the know, like a Bogert, right? Like they see these things and they watch these games and they have to be thinking, man, the Rapids looked pretty good on Saturday.
Yeah.
And they're playing really good football right now and in good form. And we're this close, we're this close. I would have loved to have at least tied it at the end. We deserved all 3 points, but it was a fantastic performance, dominant performance.
That was kind of like general thoughts that we took away from the match between Colorado and Miami. But let's get into notable performances. Listen, I'm willing to say
all of them.
But I mean, we talked about it, right? Like we could say everybody in some way, shape, or form. Everybody on the Rapids, whether they were in the starting 11 or off the bench, had good performances. But we have to kind of narrow it down a little bit so that we're not going for another 20 minutes on the podcast. But a few notable performances that stuck out to you on the day, Drew, against Miami.
Let's start with Hoffa, who is. There's a couple informed strikers right now in the league, but Hoffa has to be right at the top of the list for the goals that he's scoring, just his overall play, which we talk about all the time on here, and it's still not enough time to talk about it. His work defensively, his pressing intensity and ability to force turnovers and force long balls, and we're able to play the game on our terms. A lot of that has to do with his work defensively, but his hold up play, his combination play, he can drop into midfield and bring his teammates into the play. You see his goal, right, is a nice little exchange.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Brilliant.
And yeah, the run that he makes to score the goal, he is as good as any number 9 in the league right now.
Yeah, and particularly off the ball stuff that he does, right? And which is going to take us straight, I think, into the next player that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
But in terms of some stats that I wanted to highlight here for Hoffa, so that's his 6th MLS goal that he scored on the season so far. He's first in MLS in goal contributions between goals and assists. He's at 10 with 6 goals, 4 assists. So I feel pretty good when I say he's the best number 9 in the league. We'll leave that at that.
Yeah.
Carrying on to the next guy you had in mind in terms of notable performances, Drew.
Yeah, Darren Yappy, and probably was disappointed not to start this match. I know all these players would have wanted to start this match because of just the magnitude of it, but he made a difference when he came onto the field, and he was ready, and he prepared as if he was ready to start this match, and his movement off the ball in particular in this game, and I'm not just talking about the goal, just in general, was fantastic. And he just continues to grow and look more and more comfortable. And he had a couple other like little half chances, one that he should have shot, I thought, but he took a little bit of a heavier touch, and one of his shots that was blocked, but the goal is class. And the place went absolutely mad, which was so fun. But he had just gotten off the field, and again, the ability to recognize that run and then to take the couple touches that he did, and then to slot it home was class. And for the homegrown to score that tying goal in front of all of his fans was pretty cool.
I was field level when that goal happened, and that was carrying on the momentum that we had from Hoffa scoring that first goal to make it 2-1. The stadium erupted. Like, it was incredible, just the feeling to be a part of that moment when a homegrown, right, of all people, of all players, to be able to do that, and in the context of that game, to tie it up and have that momentum was really, really neat to see. So for Yappy, that's his 3rd goal of the season. Obviously, Yappy would be, I think, the first to tell you he wants more.
Yeah.
But as we talk about, Drew, you know, it was particularly with strikers, they pride themselves on the goals, and that's what more often than not they're judged on. But there's so much more that a Yappy or a Hoffa does, and it adds to their game movement off the ball in particular, right? Some of these other things that they do off the ball, even on the ball as well, that makes them just incredible players that we're so fortunate to have here at the Rapids between those two guys. So Yappy, that was his third goal of the season in MLS. And then one more guy I was going to highlight here who we're actually going to get for off the pitch in just a sec. Georgi Minoungou, who we obviously got from the Seattle Sounders. He was able to make his first start for the Rapids since joining from the Sounders. Obviously, he made his first appearance off the bench against that thrashing against Houston Dynamo 6-2 here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. So Georgie was, I mean, on the day, like, apart from just getting his first start, Drew, he was a problem for Miami.
He set the tone less than 5 minutes into the match. He picked up the ball on the left-hand side and did exactly what you want your wingers to do in this system. He went 1v1 with Luan at first and beat him, and then continued to go and had another touch past Falcon, who came over to try to double down and got a cross off. And that set the tone in the attacking half for me, less than 5 minutes into the match. And then he continued to, as you say, just be a problem. His size, his physicality, his directness, his power, all these things. Georgi Minoungou is going to be a problem for every single opponent that faces the Rapids this season when he's on the field, because he is an absolute handful.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was after the Houston match when we got Josh Atencio. The media was talking to him after the game, and with that performance off the bench when Georgie made his debut off the bench for the Rapids here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park against Houston, Josh basically said, we just kind of let him go.
Yeah.
And fans immediately recognize what Georgie is all about. And so they're already in love with Georgie, with what he's going to offer. And that's just a sliver of what he's – I mean, yeah, how can you not be with someone who's so dynamic, so aggressive, so front-footed, who's – what's not to love about him?
Imagine having to defend him.
I'm glad I don't have to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Or
me too.
you should be glad you don't have to do that. I mean, you were center back, but nonetheless.
I'm done.
So thrilled, I think, is a very light way of putting how we feel here at the club to have someone like Georgi Minoungou at the club. So probably a few more goals and assists I can see from him. Like, he's just going to be a menace in the league, man. Like, so excited to have him here at the Rapids. So I mentioned in terms of the crowd, right, with this, Drew, we talked about what was the spectacle and everything that was the occasion of this match against Miami at Empower Field at Mile High. Almost 30 years exactly on from the first home match in Rapids history. When a certain Chelo Balboa scored a couple goals and featured, right? So this record crowd at Empower Field, Drew, this is incredible. So in terms of attendance, the number that was recorded was at 75,824 people at this match to celebrate the 30th anniversary for the Rapids against Inter Miami. That is the second highest single game attendance in MLS history, Drew, only behind LA versus LAFC, the Galaxy versus LAFC at 82,110 at the Rose Bowl 2.5 years ago or so. I'm kind of speechless, Drew. The fact that we can all say, whether as a fan or as staff or as whoever, right? Anybody who was there that day can say they were part of history, of an incredible moment that was that match against Messi and Co. against Inter Miami, and the Rapids putting on the performance that they did. Just by sheerly being there, you were a part of history and an incredible moment for this club's history.
And I want to try as much as I can, to try to put into context like what that feels like as a player when you walk out onto the field, right? Because I was fortunate in my career to play in front of some pretty big crowds before, like similar in similar side of this would be with a few times with the national team, and then just some games in MLS, and it's overwhelming when you walk out on the field and see such a tall stadium like that completely full. It takes your breath away, right? And I don't know if that's something that ever gets old, like to somebody like Messi who is used to walking out in front of big fans, but it is the greatest feeling because you feel like a gladiator walking into the Coliseum, and so to have this many of our friends come out and celebrate 30 years on such a big occasion, like well done to everybody there, well done to everybody in the club that worked so hard to make this happen, and well done to the Rapids for going out and handling it and putting on such a fantastic performance. That we all would have loved 3 points from it. Obviously, we want 3 points from every single match, but to perform like that in front of that many fans and to have an afternoon like that was, as I said earlier, just incredible, and one of the the greatest moments I've had at this club.
Yeah. Gosh, it gives me goosebumps. Just hearing you talk about it, thinking about it, like all the pictures that kind of come to my head of what I can remember from that day. And I'll pretend to understand that sentiment that you mentioned, right? Because so for me during the processional, when the players, both sets of players are walking out before the national anthem and all that, I was following our players with my role on the day for that match, and I just have tunnel vision in terms of like the work that I need to do in the moment. But there's a little bit that kind of gets out of that sort of like tunnel vision that I have, and was just trying to appreciate what was like that moment, that sentiment you were talking about, Drew, of walking into the arena almost like as a gladiator and soaking in an unbelievable atmosphere.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm very, very fortunate that I get to be field level when I'm carrying out my role for the club on game days, be it here or on the road. And so you get a sense of what the players are feeling as well in terms of the environment, the fans, and what it's like. And I never get tired of it. It doesn't matter whether we're here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, at Empower Field, on a historic day like that was, or anywhere else. It's very special, right? But that day against Inter Miami, just the processional as it was happening, and I'm out there with the players following them, and the fans are welcoming both sets of players. It was, man, just thinking about it just gives me goosebumps, man. Like it's a very, very special feeling. Like I said, I'm extremely fortunate to kind of be able to soak in an atmosphere like that. And on that day, extremely fortunate to have had that experience and experience it in the way that I was able to, right? So a historic day.
Yeah.
You know, again, there's still the 3 points I would have liked that. Everybody, anybody here at the club would tell you that. But you cannot overshadow how significant, how special, how incredible the day was, that match against Inter Miami, just what that occasion was, what that day will mean to everyone individually and just to the club now, 30 years on from now, and forevermore afterwards, right? Yep. This is going to be one of those days that'll stick in the club's history for a very, very long time, man. And well to say we were a part of that is special. We're going to carry that with us for the rest of our lives, man. And it's something extremely, extremely special that we got to be a part of.
For sure.
I think that'll do it, no? As much as I would love to reminisce on that day, we have a lot to get to.
We're busy, man. We got some big games coming up.
We're in a busy stretch.
We are.
We're in an extremely busy stretch. We're kind of like halfway through it or so, and we're going to get to that in just a bit. But before we get into this road trip that I mentioned off the top that we're going to, the Rapids need to take on against LAFC in Vancouver, before we get to that, we're going to go off the pitch.
Let's do it
real quickly for a newcomer, actually, someone who the fans have already fallen in love with. But you guys are going to hear from him directly now. And it's going to be forward Georgie Minoungou. So let's go off the pitch with forward Georgie Minoungou. A newcomer here to the Colorado Rapids, forward Georgie Minoungou. Georgie, it's so nice to meet you, man. I'd imagine it's been so whirlwind rather, ever since you got here to Colorado. But it's nice to meet you and have you on the podcast. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, it's nice to meet you guys. Yeah, I'm doing great. You know, especially with last night. You know, great atmosphere. The crowd was loud. You know, and I'm happy to be in this club.
We're going to talk about that in a bit because I know there's a little something that we want to discuss and find out ourselves from you about that. But we're going to get to that in just a second, Georgie. But to start, Georgie, how have you settled in here at Colorado? Because ever since you came from the Seattle Sounders, you hit the ground running with training and matches, and it hasn't really stopped. So how have you settled in here at Colorado so far?
I was with the national team when I heard the news. You know, I was a little bit surprised, but you know. And the coach called me, and then all the people around here, like who knows me for a while in the league, just called me, "Oh, Georgie, we're so excited," you know. So like I was like, okay, that's a new, this is a new something for me, new adventure. So I was pretty excited about that. You know, after the coach showed me the project and stuff, I was like, okay, let's go. And then as soon as I get here, the coach wanted he's an excited coach. He's a great coach. He just wanted to see me play. He was just excited to see him play. He knows that I just had one training on Friday. I arrived on Thursday at 6 p.m. and then next day, he said, "Georgie, do you think you can play?" I said, "Coach, I'm here to play." And he's like, "Okay, let's train." I train. After the training, the next day he said, "Okay, Georgie, I'm gonna give you some minutes. We see." And then right after, when I get on the field. First touch was almost a goal.
It's so
Second
close.
touch, I gave the assist to Rafa, and we beat Houston 6. And that was a good start. I was really happy to be here. the attitude was killing me a little bit, but you know, I get used to that now, and yeah, I'm just set here. You know, my teammates is helping me to fit into the group. You know, the coach is making things easy. The people in the staff, you know, making things easy. You know, for me to be as like happy as I can. You know, and I'm a happy man. You know, I love to smile, so I'm just good. You know, it wasn't easy the transition, but you know. I'm perfect right now, and we can keep pulling.
Perfect sounds about right, Georgie. I don't think there was much of a transition period for you, man, because you like I said, you hit the ground running. You nearly get into this. You nearly score in Houston in the first minutes that you get. Yeah. Made your debut here in front of the Rapids fans, and we mentioned this in the last podcast where when you came off the bench and you got on the ball the first time, like I just looked around for a second to look at the fans, and they all like got out of their seats and were waiting to see what you were gonna do because they were very excited to see you, Georgie. Yeah. So you left a very good first impression. I remember I think you cut up a Houston defender and almost got your goal on your first touch. So perfect, I think, is the best way to describe your start here in Colorado.
And speaking of the fans, Georgie, I'm super excited you're here. I've been watching you for a couple seasons now. I spent some time with R2, right? And I know you had some performances with Seattle's second team where you absolutely torched us. So I got to see you firsthand for a couple seasons, but then obviously watching you with the Seattle first team. And we were talking about you during preseason and how we wanted to try to get you. And I was like, man, this is somebody that we got to try to get after, you know? So happy you're here. But speaking of the fans, what can they expect from Georgie Minoungou when you're on the field? What can they expect? What kind of player are you? What are your qualities? What can we look forward to?
Yeah, I'm someone who has a big energy, you know. As soon as I get on the field, like people can see that, you know, I bring so much energy, you know. So like I'm so passionate in the game, you know. I just want to bring as much as I can. As I say all the time, you know, like if I have 100%, I want to give 200%, you know. And I know fans is like pretty excited about that, you know. I'm a 1v1 player. My ability is to dribble defenders and then like get into like dangerous situations, you know. If I can beat my defender like 4 out of 5, like 5 out of 5, I will do it and then put the ball in the box. If I can find some solution to shoot or whatever, you know, I will try to be as dangerous as I can, you know. And like if you're looking for a dangerous player, I'm the one, you know, try to be dangerous. And right now I'm trying to convert like being dangerous to be like effective, you know, try to score more goals, you know, give more assists. And actually we have one of the best striker in the league, Rafa. So I'm gonna make the work for him, just give him the ball and then he's gonna score goals and we're gonna be happy for that. So that's what they can be like they can just be like, look at me about that, you know. I'm just gonna do my job. You know, I'm not scared about taking player on. I'm not scared. I'm not the guy who's gonna take the ball, play back, you know. I want to go at the defender. I want at the end of the game, the defender be like, oh, today I get someone, you know. I'm going to be hard on him, you know. And that's the kind of player that I'm at, you know. I don't like to play back. I want to play forward as quickly as I can. Get the ball, go 1v1, get the ball, recognize the space, go as fast as I can, you know. I mean, that's the kind of player I'm at.
And I love that you're saying all this, and I imagine you've had some conversations with Matt Wells and what he looks for from his wingers in this system, right? Which is a lot of what you just said. So maybe you've already answered this question, but what do you think of this system, of the way the Rapids want to play? Do you feel comfortable in it? Does it get you excited? Like, what have those conversations looked like, Matt Wells, in terms of what he wants from you?
Yeah, I think the first thing that made me fall in love, you know, with the team, with the club and everything, that was the conversation that I have with the coach, you know. Yeah, because when I hear I was coming to Colorado, I was like, oh, I'm coming to Colorado. I don't really know about the club, you know. But when I talked with the coach, you know, when he gave me the project, I was so excited. I was like, oh, okay, if that's the project, I'm ready, because, you know, the project of is a smart coach, you know. Like, I'm not gonna say something. I respect all the coach that I have before, but, you know, I haven't seen a coach as smart or like our
Me neither,
coach.
Man. Me
He's
neither.
Really, really smart, and he knows like what he want. You know what he want to do. You know how he want to do with the ball. You know everything. Like, he's such a smart coach. And when I have that conversation, he told me how he want to use me. You know, And I was like, okay, especially like on the wing, getting the ball as often as we can, getting into position and then get to the wing and then like try to use my ability 1v1 to get into the box and then create chance to score. And like was like, oh yeah, that's the perfect deal for me. And yeah, that's what make me fell in love with the project. And now like coming here, seeing the crowd and see the people here, nice people, right now I'm like, I'm a Colorado fan. Right now.
Love that.
We'd love to hear that, Georgie, the confidence and how you've clearly settled in very, very quickly here. But in terms of that process of settling in here, particularly at the club with the players and the coaching staff, is there anyone that you've kind of built a connection to or kind of like starting to build a little bit of a friendship with ever since you got here? Because I know there's also Josh Atencio, who you know from your time in Seattle. Be it Josh or anybody else in the group, have you been building some sort of connection or friendship with some of the guys?
For sure, yeah. As you say, Josh has been my teammate for like 3 years with the Saunders. Great person, great connection. Is like the guy who's gonna work as hard for you. Give you the ball and then like hopefully you do what you want to do. But like as soon as I came here, he told me, Georgie, don't worry, I will give the ball to you and I know you will do something. So like he's my guy, But ever since I came here, Rafa. Yeah, I love Rafa's connection. There's some people when you just get into the team, naturally, you guys are just attracted, to each other. And my connection with Rafa just start building. And I think we're going to keep developing this connection. And I will give him as much as goal as I can.
How I knew he was going to say Rafa?
How?
Because these two are always smiling.
Yeah, that's
always.
Fair.
They walk in the door, and I absolutely love this, right? And I hope I was like this. I hope people say this about me. They walk in the door to go to work with a smile on their face, and not everybody does. A lot of people here do, but so I'm not surprised that you're connecting with Rafa, and we're big fans of Rafa here.
Yeah.
So
we're big fans of you already, George.
Yeah, for sure. But I want to ask you about Saturday. A lot happened on Saturday, and we were talking about just what a great experience it was. I know you've played in front of some big crowds before. Obviously, you played in a Leagues Cup final. Tell me a little bit about the the match, how you felt about it, and just kind of the day overall and the experience. And we'll save what happened after the game for a minute, but just how you felt overall about about Saturday.
I mean, it was a great game, great atmosphere. As you say, like I've already played in front of a lot of fans, but that was really, really like big crowd, 77,000 people. That's a lot, and we were just waiting for that game, we know who we are as a team, we wanted to show up, Unfortunately, like the score didn't show up, but I believe we gave everything, and it was a great match. We was dominant, in position, in the pressing and everything, But there is like a lot of adjustment that we need to do in terms of like our finishing product and stuff, But I feel like as soon as we get that, we'll be like, we're already the best team in the league and we'll be like dominant in the league, and I believe. And in terms of like playing against Messi and stuff, like everybody knows Messi is the GOAT, and play against him, like it's always new, even if you already played 10 times against him, as soon as you get in the field against him, you just feel like different, you just want to show up. And that was a great experience. Like we young player, we've been watching him like for a while, like been watching for a while, like kicking ass in La Liga, in PSG and stuff, and being on the same field with him is a privilege. As I say, he's kind of the same as like Cristiano Ronaldo or other like big player, be on the field with them is experience. You learn, and actually it's good to learn by winning, but that wasn't the reason, but it was a great atmosphere.
For sure.
Yeah, no, for sure, Georgie. And then speaking of Messi, I have one last question for you here. So you actually got to exchange jerseys with Messi at the end of the game. So to cap off an incredible day, an incredible experience, despite the result, an incredible day for the club, an incredible day for yourself to be a part of as well. But tell us the story about how that came about, because it wasn't just in the moment post-game that you asked him and got the jersey. There's a little bit more history to it, I think, now.
Yeah. I remember when we played in the Leagues Cup. We played in the Leagues Cup in the final, Like, obviously, Messi was very upset because they lose, But at that game, I asked him about his jersey, and because like we're big fan. It's not about like he's my idol, because me like my favorite player is like Dembele and Neymar, but I recognize that like Messi is the GOAT, you know, like Cristiano is the GOAT too. So like I really wanted his jersey too, you know. So I asked the jersey, and like there was a lot of my teammates that really wanted his jersey too. So like I don't know who we give you jersey with, but he swapped the jersey with, but he just tell me next time, you know, when we see each other next time. And I was like, okay, next time, you know. So I get to Colorado and I hear like we're gonna play against Messi. I was like, okay, maybe we remember. so in the halftime, so we didn't talk, we just like greet each other, and then we go to play the game. So in the halftime, when we come back from the from the locker room, you know, and then we set out, that was like the second half now, and then like you just shake my hand, you know. We was setting to start the game, you know, the referee was there. He just shake my hand and he did like he remember, you know.
Wow.
So I was like, he remember, he remember. So after that, I just went straight to him, and then we switched the jersey. Yeah. So that was kind of the story over there.
That's class on his part.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's you have to be able to admire that bit there.
The story's amazing, right?
Yeah.
That you ask him and he says next time. And with somebody like Messi, I don't know if he's ever said this to somebody before. You're the only one that I've known that he said it to before. But then he remembers and does it. I was already a Messi fan. I'm a bigger Messi fan now because he's a man of his word.
I think that says a lot about his character, right?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, Messi is a great man. You know, he's a great human being. You know, yeah. Sometimes like maybe people have like a little bit of like opinion about him, but he's a great person. You know, he doesn't love to lose game. You know, when he lose game, he's really upset, and like, you know, that's part of human. Everybody does. Nobody want to lose. You know, and he's like, you know, when you get in certain level of the game, you know, you just want to win. You know, and Messi's like that. He doesn't want to lose, and when he lose, he just like has like maybe some other character that people like see. You know, it's kind of Cristiano. Who's gonna say Cristiano would love to lose? He wants to win. Yeah. They build to win, and like this is the attitude that we as a young player we're looking for. You know, like those model, like they just want to win. You know, they're not happy to lose, and if you're happy to lose, like maybe go play other sport, because in that sport they just want to be the best, and the best. And, you know, Messi's a great person. You know, he was smiling, even taking a picture with me. You know, who knows Georgi Minoungou, you know. Everybody knows Messi, and, you know, taking a picture with me, didn't care. You know, you just smile and you just go. That show like how great he is as a human, you know. And I really appreciate that. And I will just keep my jersey, you know, hiding somewhere, you know, and it's gonna be, you know, is good for me. He even take my jersey too, you know. Like for me, I was like taking my jersey on the side, but he take my jersey too, awesome, you know. Man. So that's humble, awesome. You know. I'm not a big time player. I'm not Ronaldinho, no, but he took my jersey, just respect, you know. So. Yeah, I'm just grateful.
It's awesome, man. Good for you, Georgie.
Yeah, man.
Good for you.
I'll disagree with you there in that you're not a big time player. I think you are. I think you're a big time player.
Yeah, it's coming.
Well, if I mean, I want that level of confidence from Georgie. I got to walk around with more of that Georgie level confidence every day in what I do, because it's incredible, man, to see the confidence that you walk around with, the wonderful human being that you are as well, man. To see you settle in the way that you have here in Colorado so quickly is admirable and incredible. You saw the fans; they love you already. The way they saw you, like I said, the first touch against Houston, you cut up a defender, nearly scored on your first touches on the ball. There's so much to love about you, Georgie, and whether it's us internally here at the club or obviously the fans who have very quickly gotten to recognize who Georgie Minoungou is. We're very, very excited and happy to have you here at the club, Georgie. So long may it continue. Always wishing you all the best, and hopefully what is a long career here at the Colorado Rapids. For sure. But we're super happy to have you, Georgie, and we were super happy to have you here to get to know you here on the Colorado Rapids podcast. So thank you so much for taking the time, Georgie. We really appreciate it.
Really appreciate that. Yeah.
All right, Drew, very quickly, let's go around the club as we typically do at this point of the podcast. We just have so much to get through after already reminiscing so much on the Miami match day that we had on the weekend. A couple things here for around the club that I wanted to go through is Rapids Unified. They're going to have their media day and gear distribution, slowly getting ready for their season today here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, where basically they're going to get the same treatment that the first team players do in terms of being in front of the green screen and doing all these poses and stuff, that exactly what the first team players do, right? So that's happening today with our best friends that are the Rapids Unified team. So super excited to do that for them. And then the second thing I had here is as a part of the MLS Green and Goals initiative, with this being Earth Month on April, the Rapids will be participating in a park cleanup at Parkfield Lake Park. That's going to be on Earth Day of all days, Wednesday, April 22nd. As we always talk about, Drew, the Rapids, not just a club here that's just a neighbor and just kind of sitting here and host matches for people to come to enjoy, but we're also part of the community out there to do our bit as a club, being good neighbors here in Colorado, doing our part as a club to be basically to help improve the community in any which way we can. So just a couple things there I wanted to highlight very quickly for Around the Club. Sorry that I had to do it so quickly, as much as I'd love to dwell on Rapids Unified, but again, so much to go through in this podcast.
Games.
So many games, Drew, which I mean takes us straight into it,
Yeah.
right? Because the Rapids right now are in quite the stretch that they have. Here, I think it's the 4th and 5th matches they're entering this week on the road of a 7-game stretch over the course of 21 days. So it's a little spread out, but that you're playing Saturday midweek, that eventually takes its toll on a team. And like I mentioned, so the first match that the Rapids are going to have in this road stretch that they're going to have this week is going to be against LAFC. That's going to be on Wednesday, April 22nd, with an 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time kickoff. That match is at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles. Drew, LAFC is LAFC, man. Like, this is a team we know very, very well, obviously, because they're a Western Conference opponent, but we know the quality that they have with all the players and their style. They're a very good team at the end of the day. What's something you're going to be looking out for in that match? What's should fans be looking out for as the Rapids start their road stretch here against LAFC at BMO Stadium?
Well, it's a difficult place to play, right? The Rapids have struggled there, but I don't think Matt Wells and this group is going to care about that, right? And for me, LAFC are coming off a bad loss against San Jose. And having watched a decent chunk of that match, what I noticed is San Jose were getting success when they were able to kind of control the pace of the match. We know LAFC is one of the most dangerous sides in all of MLS in transition, in attacking transition, right? With Bouanga, with Son, with David Martinez, right? And they've got some good midfielders that can pick these guys out, and Tillman and Delgado. If you can control the pace of this match, right? Obviously, they're going to have their moments in transition because good teams are able to find, repeated ways to do what they do well. But if you're able to control the overall pace of this match, then I think you set yourself up really well. And the Rapids are set up well to control the pace of matches, right? Whether it's through their build-out play, whether it's through their transitional play, whether it's through their physicality, right? We know the Rapids, they're not afraid to foul. They're not afraid to leave one on the opponents. Or whether it's just their way of slowing teams down, And so I think if the Rapids can just kind of control the pace of this match and be opportunistic when they are in attack, then I think it sets them up really well to go get 3 points.
For sure, Drew. I would say even for the neutral that wants to tune into a good match on the at midweek, because we got MLS midweek going on so early in the season. I think this is one of those matches, right? Because this is in terms of the context of what this match is. This is an LAFC side, as you mentioned. They're coming off a bad loss against San Jose. San Jose, who's red hot right now. But LAFC is going to want to course correct after that, get a win, especially at home in front of their crowd, in front of the 3252 after such a bad loss. The Rapids, despite also coming off a loss like we discussed earlier in that match against Miami, they feel like they can get the better of any team anywhere, as Matt Wells has said time and time again when speaking to media. Doesn't matter who we play or where we play. We're going to play our football, go and dominate, and expect to get results regardless of who we play or where we play them. So it's almost like an immovable object against an unstoppable force. It feels like coming against each other here in this, I would say, huge midweek matchup between these two sides. So for the neutral, I would say, let alone for a Rapids fan, like this is going to be one hell of a match to watch, I think. For the Rapids, I feel like they could probably, like you said, I think they can capitalize on this moment specifically against LAFC, because sometimes it is about when you play certain opponents, right? LAFC is just a very good team overall, regardless of when you play them, right?
Of course.
They're a bit worn out. They've played quite a few games already, Drew, to start their season, because they're also in CONCACAF Champions Cup. They've played 14 games in all competitions so far.
That's a lot.
That's a congested schedule. I think you could see a little bit of fatigue in that match against San Jose. Yeah. So if you're the Rapids, who are very well conditioned physically, we know that very, very well. Yeah. And also coming off the momentum of the way they played that match against Miami, I would not put it past the Rapids, despite the not so great history they have at BMO Stadium. I would not put it past the Rapids to get 3 points against LAFC to try to take advantage of in this very specific moment that they're going there to play LAFC. It's either way, it's one hell of a matchup. I think anybody could tune into and watch some quality football on the night.
I agree, and I think maybe one other area you can get after LAFC is just kind of like through the middle of the field. Look at San Jose's goals; all of them just direct through the middle of the field. And maybe that is a little bit of the fatigue there, but you control the pace of that match. Like I said, slow it down when you need to, speed it up when you need to, and the Rapids are set up well for that. Then I like our chances.
Yeah, I very much do too, as well, Drew. So that will do it for LAFC in terms of looking ahead to that.
Because there's another one 3 days later.
Quite the stretch, like I said, for the Rapids being on the road, because they're leaving tomorrow, Tuesday, and they are not coming back until after that Vancouver match. So it's going to be quite the week for them, with the midweek match and then traveling straight to Vancouver after that. Speaking of Vancouver, it's the Vancouver Whitecaps that is on the docket on Saturday for the Colorado Rapids. Another very good opponent, Drew. So that matchup between the Vancouver Whitecaps and the Colorado Rapids is going to be at BC Place up in Vancouver on Saturday, April 25th, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time kickoff. Again, Drew, this is another very good side. MLS Cup finalist, up against Miami, who we just played on the weekend back in 2025. Vancouver is in very good form. They've only lost one home match all season at BC Place against the San Jose Earthquakes, who have been on fire on the road. Vancouver, it seems like they're carrying on from their form last season, man. Like, this is just a very good team on your Jesper Sorensen, who it feels like best of luck trying to get some points out of them, whether they're at your place, their place, and BC Place. But nonetheless, I think the Rapids have their work cut out for them, but you don't put it past them to get a result against a very good side that is Vancouver.
Agreed, and I think you're exactly right. Vancouver have picked up right where they left off last season, and they have very few holes. They don't have any holes. I feel like they have a deep squad. They have a couple superstars. Thomas Muller, obviously a world superstar. Brian White, certainly a guy that just continues to produce and score goals, and they're just very good on both sides of the ball. Right, like. It's hard to say exactly what they do extraordinarily well because they just do everything really, really well, and they're really, really solid. And I think the one area that I feel like the Rapids might be able to get after them is they ask their midfield 2 or 3 to cover a lot of space, right? And so if you're clean through the midfield, if you make these guys chase side to side, if you take the sting out of it a little bit and make them cover that ground, eventually over the course of 90 minutes, they're going to wear down, and you can hit them in the way that we attack. You can get after them, I feel like, and they have the defending defender of the year in Tristan Blackman on their side, right? So there's no holes in this Vancouver side, right? And so you have to be clean on the ball. You have to try to beat them in the possession percentage number, I feel like, because they find a way to create chances. They've got good wingers, Sabi being one of those, but just a very solid team that you got to be physical with, but you have to kind of dominate the middle of the field. And I think if you dominate the middle of the field against them, then you have a leg up against them.
For sure. As we mentioned, this is a tough stretch, Drew.
Yeah.
But if you want to be a good team, if you want to show yourself to prove to yourself, to your fans, to the rest of the league, these are the moments when you got to show up and take advantage of them when they come up, right? And these are the moments you want to be a part of and to be able to prove to yourself and everyone else that you're one of the best, right? I firmly believe that the Rapids are one of the very best teams in the league right now. Seeing them in 8th place maybe suggests otherwise, but like we said, like you need to be able to watch the football, not just look at results or look at standings and take that for what it is. You have to be able to watch and see what the Rapids are doing here. Like we said, there's something very special happening here under Matt Wells, the way he wants his team to play, the way we've seen them play, right? It's not just us saying that. Yeah. Ask anybody else around the league who's noticed the Rapids this season and the way they're going about their business. It's a special team doing very special things right now. Again, coming off a loss against Miami, but a lot of momentum despite that and going into what is, again, a very, very difficult stretch here. LAFC midweek, Vancouver on the weekend, but very much looking forward to it, Drew. I think there's a lot of good football to be played in these matches. And, of course, looking for the 3 points. Looking for the 3 points, as Matt Wells says. It doesn't matter who we play, where we play them. 3 points is the objective. Yeah.
And one game at a time. We're talking about Vancouver. Obviously, LAFC is the next one on the schedule. But if you put together the performance and energy that you did against Miami, then you're going to give yourself a very, very, very good chance against LAFC. And speaking of energy against Miami, we haven't talked about this yet, but at one point in the second half, and you know Matt Wells is always super into these matches, right? He's on the sideline, like he wants to put the boots on and go out there and join his players. But he took the blazer off at one point, you know? And I was worried the shirt was coming off at one point too. I was like, he's gonna do it, you know, like. But the energy that he puts into it, you know, you see throughout the entire team, and they're gonna need that kind of energy in these weeks and in these matches coming up ahead, because they're big tests, and that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't even come to watch the Rapids game, just sit there and watch Matt Wells for 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. Look, he hangs on every single touch of the ball. Like, he is on energy. The guys. Like, it does not stop. Mm-hmm. Like, there's moments when I like, kind of, because I'm filming during the games, and I'll like look over at Matt. It's always gesturing and telling somebody this and telling somebody that. It's like every single second he's hanging on it. But I think that's gonna do it, Drew. Because I think I'm exhausted. I need a beat. It's been quite the weekend. It was a fun weekend, right?
Yeah,
we talked about it. It was a very special weekend that we got to be a part of. But I think we just need to put a cap on it, because I'm gonna not go because I'm on a couch basically. I'm just gonna lay down right here, honestly. So to put a cap on that, again, a reminder for everybody in terms of the 2 matches that we have coming up this weekend. First, on midweek, we have LAFC. The Rapids will be at BMO Stadium on Wednesday, April 22nd, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time kickoff. That is an incredible match. And then just a few days later, on Saturday, April 25th, also 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time kickoff, the Rapids will be at the Vancouver Whitecaps at BC Place. This is it, Drew. Big week ahead for the Rapids, part of a busy stretch, as we mentioned, but hopefully walking away ideally with 6 points. But the Rapids, I think, give us quite a bit of hope that for that to be realistic, considering the way they're playing, the momentum they have. It's going to be quite the week.
It is
quite the week.
It is.
So
let's go for 3 on Wednesday, and then
we'll
let's go for 3 on Saturday.
I like that. I love the sound of that. So that's going to do it for us from here on the Colorado Rapids podcast. My thanks to producer Rich, and then of course my good friend and resident Rapids legend Drew Moore. I've been your host, Mike Ravolo. Have a good week, everybody. Enjoy the matches this weekend, and we'll see you guys next time.